Hey guys, welcome back. As you know, I am a big user of Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane, and honestly, I have planned to stick with that forever. Except that today I went to go get a can of Emerald Urethane and they were out. So I have been putting off this video for a while simply because of the cost of this product. But I'm in a pinch. I need to get this larger unit behind me painted in white, and they just didn't have any. They did have quarts of it there, but I thought, you know what, I might as well take this opportunity to try the new Sherwin-Williams Gallery series. And that's this one here. It's a waterborne top coat, also a urethane, just like the Emerald, but apparently this is touted to be the new flagship from Sherwin-Williams as far as 1K coatings go. So we're going to try it. I've got two units behind me. I've got a smaller unit here, which we're going to paint with our Emerald, Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane trim. That's going to be in evergreen fog. And then we're going to paint the unit in the back, we're going to paint that one with the Gallery series. And I'm going to set up my guns and everything just like I was shooting Emerald, and see how that goes. But let's go ahead and set up. Okay, so just like in my video on shooting Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane, I've set up my little mixing pail here so that you can see the reflection of my shop lights right here in the top of the paint. Your shop lights or your overhead lights in your shop are the most important tool you've got when it comes to finishes. It's the reflection of those lights that's going to tell you whether you're getting a good layer laid down, whether you're getting a flat layer laid down, and so on and so forth. But it's also going to help us properly mix this paint to shoot it out of the 1.8 HVLP gun that we're going to shoot this out of. So as you can see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a 3-second trace on this paint, and what that means is I'm going to stir it up a little bit, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to drag this paint. I'm going to drip it across the top of my paint, and then I'm going to count in seconds how long it takes those traces of that drip on top to disappear. So let's go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I think I'm going to just, this seems like it's probably maybe a little bit thinner than Emerald. Emerald usually has a much longer trace time on it, so I'm not going to put a whole lot of water in here. Just a little bit. Stir it up really well. And we'll run that test again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe a little more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Looks like it. About 3 seconds to get that trace to disappear. It's starting to warm up here in San Angelo, so my paints aren't quite as thick as they are when I'm shooting out here in 35-degree weather. But there we go. Let's load this up in the gun. Okay, I've got a whole video on how to spray this Sherwin-Williams paint with these HVLP guns, and I'll leave a link to these specific HVLP guns. These are really cheap, $100 and something bucks for a set of 3, which comes with 2 main guns and 1 detail gun. It's an absolutely wonderful kit, but these go together super easy. If you've never done HVLP before, trust me, you can do this. The gun goes together in just under a minute, really. As I mentioned before in another video, I don't use the filters that go into this gun. They go right here between the gun itself and the hopper. I don't use them. They just seem to be more trouble than they're worth. What I do is I buy these paper filters from Harbor Freight. I think they're $13 for 100 of them, which is cheap enough that you can make it worth it. Go ahead and filter your paint through these. All right, so just to let you know, both of these units, this larger unit and the smaller unit that I have behind it, have been prepped the same way. They both have been primed with Kills 2 primer, which is a water-based primer. I use water-based because I just don't like working with those chemicals anymore. I don't like, my lungs just can't handle it. But they've both been primed, they've both been filled, they've both been sanded. Sanded between each coat of primer and sanded before I shot my first coat of paint. So I've tried to set up the camera so that you can get a reflection of my shop lights. If I don't get a good reflection, I'll move it. But let's see if you can see how I lay this paint down, and let's see how this gallery lays down compared to the Emerald. I've got the gun set, I've got 50 PSI coming to the gun. This is a conversion gun, so it converts it down to about 10 PSI at the tip. Okay, I can tell you already that I probably should not have thinned this paint. This paint is coming out pretty quick. I'm going to try and I'm going to throttle down here a little bit, get a little less flow, and go a little faster. All right, I think that was a good layer there. I think I'm trying to see this in the viewfinder of the camera. That's about generally how wet I will spray Emerald. Let's move to the front. The front is going to be, the front may be troublesome because I think I laid it on a little too thick. Let's see if I can get a reflection on this. Okay, so hard to tell right now. It's a little thick. So I've got a lot of orange peel on here. It's looking a little concerning, but ultimately it's going to come down to the qualities of this paint and how does this paint self-level and how quickly does it dry, and is it going to be able to correct for my mistake here by thinning it too much. We'll see. Let's go ahead and let this dry. Okay, so I looked up on the back of the can. The Gallery series doesn't tell you much about the paint other than a whole lot of dangers. So I went online and I downloaded the specs for this, and actually the paint says that you can sand and recoat in 30 to 45 minutes. Now, I'm a little skeptical of that, but if it's true, that's kind of a game changer, because if I don't have to wait 4 hours like I do with the Emerald to recoat, if I can recoat this in 45 minutes, that means I can go from assembly to basically shipping in one day on cabinets like these, and that is a big deal. But I'm going to test it real quick. The first coat is down. I do want to say that when I laid this down, let me see if you can see it. I don't know how well you can see it. Let's detach this camera real quick. So I'm getting a bit the reflection here off of the paint just so you can see kind of how it filled. Let's get it focused. As you can see, this is what I would expect from a first coat. Right, I've got 2 coats of primer on here. This is the first coat of paint. It's still pretty rough looking. You can still see the grain popping through here in both the poplar trim and in the birch ply that makes up the front of this. But I will tell you that when I sprayed this, in this area here, is where I noticed that this was laying down way too thick. There was a pretty significant drip in this area that spanned the whole width of that trim, and you can see that it is gone. That drip that was there has flattened out, leveled out, and it is gone. Still looks pretty rough, but again, it's only one coat. Let's try and sand this. It's been almost an hour, so let's use their instructions. Let's try and sand this and see if I can shoot it again. Guys, this is dry. It is totally dry. And not only is it totally dry, it is super smooth. Apart from the inside edges of this trim, and that's because whoever trimmed this did not sand the trim before they put it on. Other than that, this is super, super smooth. And really hard already. I can't get my fingernails into that just a tiny bit. My fingernails will dig in just a tiny bit, but not much at all. All right, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's give this a second coat. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a second coat on my evergreen fog, which is in my emerald urethane. You're going to notice that this gun is spitting a little bit. Not spitting, but it's intermittently spraying paint and not spraying paint. That is generally a sign that you didn't do a great job cleaning the gun, and you're occasionally sucking some air bubbles in through one of the gaskets here. So it is going to do that. Generally speaking, it doesn't affect the finish. You just have to go through and hit the spots that it skips. Now this emerald trim, this emerald urethane, it's pretty darn dry too. It's a little softer. It is noticeably softer, but it is dry. And I do need to sand it. I'll tell you, the feel, when I'm sanding this, the feel is, oh, I got myself a nice drip there. The feel is very different. This does not feel as hard, this emerald trim, and trust me, I love this emerald trim, but it does not feel as hard sanding it as the gallery does. Okay, it's been a little more than an hour since I put on the second coat, and hopefully you can see this. This second coat, we are getting a lot better. Let's see if I can zoom in here. It looks a lot better. We've still got a lot of showing of the grain of the poplar here, showing the grain of the ply underneath as well. But I will say that, again, it's been an hour. This paint is hard. I shot this evergreen fog here about the same time. This is in our emerald. And with my fingernail, I can tell you it's a bit softer. It's a bit softer, but it does seem like the emerald is doing a slightly better job at covering that grain. But that could very well be due to the fact that I thinned the gallery series a little too much, which I'll know better next time. But that's 2 coats. Let's do a third coat. That should be the magic number, and let's see how it looks after that. Okay, I've got 3 coats on my my Gallery series on this white and my Emerald series on this Evergreen Fog on these two cabinet bases. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not want the Gallery to be that much better than the Emerald because the price tag is significant compared to the Emerald. The Gallery series is almost double what the Emerald costs. So when I started making this video, I really wanted the Gallery to be a very similar paint to the Emerald series. However, that's not the case. And now that I've got 3 coats on, I can tell you that these are, look, Emerald, still a fantastic paint. I'm not even sure that I'll move away from it. I probably will. But the Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane Trim Paint, fantastic, durable paint. I love it. However, this Gallery series is a much better paint. First of all, the dry time. The dry time on the Gallery series says 30 to 45 minutes. They mean it. I came out here 30, 45, maybe an hour, 60 minutes later, and the coating on this was rock hard. And when I went to sand it between coats, it really was like sanding glass. There was no resistance on the sandpaper. I wasn't picking anything up on the sandpaper, no gumming, nothing like that. After 30, 45 minutes, okay? And it was super smooth. I still did sand it. I sanded it between every coat like I normally would, but I gotta be honest, that last sanding that I did before the last coat, it felt like a moot point. It was so smooth and hard already. It was almost perfect on that second coat. This third coat laid down even better. It has masked almost all of the wood grain that was visible here. The Emerald did the same thing. Great coverage on the Emerald, great leveling on both products. I think the leveling on the Gallery is better. I had visible drips when I did the first coat on this cabinet over in this area, visible, and I mean visible. When that gun sprayed and I hit that trim, I saw it pile up and I saw it dripping. And I come out 35 minutes, 45 minutes later, and it is completely self-leveled and gone. I don't know if that means that there are less solids in this paint or what, but it did a better job of that. If I see a drip when I'm spraying the Emerald, it stays there. It's there when I come back and I've got to sand it off. That did not happen with this. And that first coat, I'm telling you, came down really fast and it came down really thick. The hardness, just after 30, 45 minutes, I can barely get a fingernail into it. Whereas on my Emerald, I can. I hit it with my fingernails and it's soft. It feels like, you know, if you're not familiar with this paint, it feels like what polyacrylic would feel like about an hour after spraying it. It's just a little soft to the touch. You can tell that it's not ready to go out. It's not ready to work. It's not ready to even move around much. This Gallery series, I'm going to tell you, I would be very confident spraying this and then 2-3 hours later packing this up in a box and shipping it out. That's how hard this finish dries and how fast this finish dries. Is it worth it? Is it worth the price difference? I don't know. It's going to depend on what you're using it for. For me, the time savings alone, and let me mention that on the Gallery or on the Emerald series, the recoat time is 4 hours on the label. I'm going to be honest. I never do 4 hours. I never wait 4 hours. I just don't have that kind of time in my shop. I will generally wait about 2 hours before spraying the next coat, and I found that works perfectly fine. This, however, this truly was ready. It was ready at 30 minutes, 45 minutes to recoat. This one now has 3 coats of not that perfectly cured paint on it. So it's going to take a while to dry. I will not be able to ship this out until tomorrow. But this one, I feel confident I could ship it out in the next hour and a half, 2 hours, and it would be fine. So is it worth it? I think it's going to be worth it for me. The time savings alone, that means that I can get this assembled and spray it with primer, wait an hour, spray it with another coat of primer, wait an hour, spray it 1, 2, 3 coats of paint, let's call it an hour. That's 5 hours. That means in one day, I can go from bare to fully finished in 5 hours. Whereas with the Emerald, this is a 2-day, at the very least, 2-day project to get painted and finished so that I can pack it up and send it out. So that may just be the thing that makes or breaks my decision in terms of this. Fantastic paint. I did thin it initially. I went through the same process that I go through with my Emerald urethane trim. That was a mistake. This came out of my gun way too fast, even with only what was probably a 3 to 4% reduction. It just blew out of my gun so fast. It surprised me. I got a bunch of buildup over here. Initially, I was real worried about it. So maybe not thin it. Otherwise, there you have it. Laid down beautifully. Both products lay down beautifully. They really do. It's really just going to come down to a matter of what you're going to use it for. Definitely when I do cabinets, it's going to be the Gallery series from here on out. It's just too perfect. It's not a 2K finish, but darn, it's close. It's really good. For other projects, I'm still going to use the Emerald. It's fantastic paint. I love it. It's cheaper, much cheaper. Still not as cheap as paint you're going to pick up from your big box store, but it is more affordable. But there you have it. There's my honest review on the Sherwin-Williams Gallery. Good job, Sherwin-Williams. This is pretty amazing stuff. Hope you liked this video, and we'll see you next time.